Hi everyone. So my project is on Ubuntu ethics for AI, and what matters is that we have to expand the conversation around ethics in technology, and we tend to have a very Western-centered focus on technology, and this ends up leaving other communities behind. So overall, it's to extend the conversation. So in the mid 80s, early 1990s, Zambia had a booming coffee industry. My family's from the coffee belt in Zambia, therefore I like wearing my coffee. But however, around the mid-1990s, Zambia was forced to repay back some loans to the local community, so paying back loans to the IMF and to the World Bank due to the structural adjustment programs. But what this did to Zambia's economy was that they were forced to privatize the mines and to privatize the industries. And this led to a massive informal sector, massive unemployment. And the gains from the coffee industry were not really distributed to the community. And this was largely due to bad advice. So not having the capacity to really negotiate with the World Trade Organization, IMF, and the World Bank. And of course there are other factors like corruption and so forth. But largely it was due to not having enough support or capacity to understand these complex trade agreements. And the same problem, of course, occurs throughout the continent. There's actually a book on that, which describes this phenomenon. And what I believe is that we're not facing the same situation as well with technology. We're having large tech companies entering the African economy and promising fancy tales or fantasies for development. And so you have Facebook trying to bring free internet to the African continent, but it's not really free. It's actually a limited internet. And so you have this version of the internet that's available in 33 countries. And so what I'm trying to do then is to sort of start to create the framework, an indigenous ethical framework, which we can use to critically assess these deals that are coming in, and to determine how fair are they and how useful and helpful are they to the community. We do have some data privacy laws that are in the works. Africa is notorious for poor data privacy laws, and that's also partly due to the tech companies that go into the continent. And so again, these governments are not equipped to sort of work against this this push by Western companies. And so what I'm looking into is this ethical framework. And so I spent the past 6 months at the Carr-Ryan Center developing Ubuntu as an ethical framework for assessing artificial intelligence. 2 months ago, IEEE recently released this report which looks at alternative ethical systems. So they're looking to Shinto, Buddhism, Confucianism, and Ubuntu as alternative systems that we can use to build better aligned technology. And so I'm focusing specifically on Ubuntu and adding, it's a low resource field, no one's doing that work, so I'm filling that void right now. And so after I do the theory, I'm planning on, part of my project is also to create software, so I write software for a living. And this here is a project that allows Android devices to communicate offline using Bluetooth, Wi-Fi Direct, and ultrasonic sound technology. And this is useful in times where there's censorship or where there's a poor infrastructure to actually, where the internet might be expensive. So this allows for freedom of expression, and it's anti-censorship, and it's also a private way to communicate. And the idea is to have a messaging app which you can use to do stuff like WhatsApp, but totally offline. And I'm also working on some natural language processing tools. If I have enough time, I don't know. I also suffer from what many people here suffer, which is like deciding, focusing exactly on what to work on. So I would like to get some help, some feedback on this framework that I'm developing, and also some resources for funding for this project.